TV shows and movies can be full of bone-chilling moments that can have you looking from the space between your fingers, and it can be a thrilling experience to say the least. Though, sometimes, actors can find themselves doing scenes that have manifested a pretty real response of fear in them. These are some of the TV scenes that actors had to work through while utterly terrified, starting with Sydney Sweeney in Euphoria. There's no doubt that the cast of Euphoria had a blast on set, except for their last day of filming for season 1 maybe, especially for actress Sydney Sweeney, who plays Cassie Howard in the show. The scenes for the finale were being shot at an abandoned mental hospital that had been shut down after 40 patients had lost their lives there. There was even a morgue to top it all off. Talk about an eerie atmosphere. To quote actress Sydney Sweeney herself, "It was the creepiest place I've ever been to, and we were filming there all day and night." Despite the fear that she'd been feeling throughout her time there, we'd say Sydney Sweeney did a really good job. Wouldn't you agree? Secondly, we have Daniel Radcliffe in Harry Potter. Who can forget seeing Voldemort's face for the first time? We're not gonna lie, we can't forget that moment. His general presence and appearance, as well as a lack of a nose on his face, never fails to send a chill or two down our spines. It's just too unnatural, which is part of what helps make him such a scary character. Daniel Radcliffe sure agrees, saying he was utterly terrified each time he'd be in a scene with Voldemort. Much of the character's creepiness also comes from Ralph Fiennes, the actor playing Voldemort. The casting directors had to bring on an actor who did intimidating well, and boy, did they find someone intimidating. You can just tell how much Daniel Radcliffe was terrified of him when he says Rafe genuinely scared him for years. I mean, who wouldn't be, right? We'd have left the set and have given up acting the second Voldemort showed up. Next, we're going to talk about Emilia Clarke in Game of Thrones. We all saw how cool Emilia Clarke looked while riding her dragons. Dragons are awesome, and beautiful blonde women riding dragons are even more awesome. For Emilia, however, shooting the dragon riding scenes was more like a scary amusement park ride, which we're sure can be fun for a lot of people, but behind the scenes, she'd have to sit and hold on tight to a big green shell that they used to green screen a dragon in with. Emilia had to be careful not to fall off it and get badly hurt, as it would be moving around to imitate the movement of a dragon. She'd be on top holding on for dear life. Sounds like one of those rodeo bulls, only much bigger. Thankfully, they eventually did get her a harness to help keep her strapped in, though we still can't imagine it being much better. At number 4, we have Michael Caine in The Dark Knight. Michael Caine, the actor playing the beloved Alfred in The Dark Knight, said he was terrified seeing Heath Ledger in costume as the Joker. The very first time he'd ever seen Heath dressed up as the Joker was while they were filming a scene, which means what we see on screen is a genuine reaction. It's understandable why Michael was taken aback and even scared. The Joker's a scary guy in every way. His appearance, the things he says, as well as his actions are all terrifying. Even in the comics, the Joker can be extremely frightening. Heath Ledger's amazing performance only enhanced the character's already high capability to induce fear into people. He'll frighten the life out of you. He did that to me the first time I saw him. I forgot every line, was all Michael Caine had to say. Imagine being so scared that you forget literally all of your lines. At number 5 is Ryan Reynolds in Buried. One of Ryan Reynolds' biggest fears is claustrophobia, which basically means he's scared of being confined in small places. And guess what? For the movie Buried, Ryan had to constantly be in constricted spaces on set throughout most of the shoot. Sounds like a claustrophobic's worst nightmare if you ask us. Every day on set was a struggle with fear for Ryan. What you see on screen are Ryan's actual, genuine emotions of terror. The confined spaces would trigger him mentally and physically over and over again. It's his great acting and genuine feelings of fear and terror he felt while filming that makes the movie as impactful on us as it is. It was tough. Buried was really tough, emotionally and physically, says Ryan Reynolds. It goes to show you just how dedicated Ryan can be when it comes to acting, and it without a doubt shows through his performance in this movie. Next up are Kristen Ritter, Bryan Cranston, and Aaron Paul in Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad is a show that's never been timid with its tragic and horrifying death scenes, though one in particular left numerous people all shook up, such as Kristen Ritter, the actress playing Jane. Kristen knew from the beginning that her character was going to die eventually. But the scene where it happens, where Jane chokes on her own vomit after using heroin and dies, wasn't easy on her. Overdose is an emotionally taxing topic, and she'd have to take breaks every now and then since it would just get too overwhelming for her. Her mother can't even get herself to say anything about the scene. Just watching it on screen made us feel scared. The scene wasn't easy on Bryan Cranston either, the actor playing Walter White. Bryan is a parent, just like Kristen's mother, which tells you why it was such a struggle on him. While watching Kristen pretending to die, he saw his own daughter in her place, which was his biggest fear. He says it's the one scene that still makes him emotional, which is a big thing to say considering how dark the show is overall. Aaron Paul, the actor playing Jesse, struggled with the scene as well. It involved him trying to bring her back to life after she had just overdosed. Paul added that he and Kristen even cried over it on set. "I just couldn't come back from it," was what he had to say about it. Now, at 7th, Kit Harington in Game of Thrones. Yet another actor from Game of Thrones, Kit Harington, who plays Jon Snow, was left stunned and scared during some moments on set. The episode where Jon Snow is being chased by the Bolton cavalry is one of those moments. It entails Kit standing all alone on a battlefield while a whole cavalry rush towards him. Could you imagine seeing an army on horses just charging towards you? Yes. That wasn't a green screen. Kit Harington had to physically stand there fearing for his life while hundreds of men on hundreds of horses ran straight at him. Kit said the experience was very scary, and I believe him. We'd have definitely started to run away if we saw a whole cavalry charging towards us. At number 8, we have Jonathan Groff in Mindhunter. Mindhunter is a show that outlines the FBI's early endeavors to try and understand the mind of serial killers. Jonathan Groff plays Holden Ford, former hostage negotiator and now a serial killer investigator. In the show, Ford ends up forming an unusual bond with Ed Kemper, a real-life serial killer, who Cameron Britton played amazingly, might I add. Let me give you some context. Kemper is 6'9" and has a very high IQ. He'd be so calmly describing to Ford just how violent the crimes he committed were. Watching it is terrifying, especially if you're there in the same room. Groff said, "To be sitting in this room with him in Los Angeles all by myself was terrifying." Jonathan was even more scared of the scene in the season 1 finale, where Kemper gives Ford a big hug. The hair stood up on the back of his neck just when he was reading the script with Britton. He says that final scene was so easy to act because he is truly that terrifying. And last, but definitely not least, Jennifer Aniston in Cake Underwater. When she was 5 years old, actress Jennifer Aniston had an unfortunate experience underwater that left her traumatized to this day. Childhood traumas can stay with you for life, which is what made this scene so difficult and unbearable for her to act out. The shot required Jennifer to keep herself submerged underwater, which no doubt would have been extremely triggering for her. She said that it took her 30 takes to do, and that she'd never want to do anything like that ever again. Fear is usually looked at as a bad thing, and I'm not saying it isn't. No one likes feeling scared. I don't either. But sometimes fear can be a good thing too. It's how we can tell that we're in danger. It's essential for survival. When it comes to acting, fear on a movie set, for example, may not always be such a bad thing either. It can greatly enhance a scene, which is something we've talked about earlier in the video a couple of times too. Taking nothing away from how stressful or terrifying it would have been for the actors mentioned though. But all this does is show you just how talented and composed these actors are, to still put on amazing performances while they're completely terrified. It can be easy to think that they were only acting and weren't actually scared. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think you could have acted out these scenes without feeling scared? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.